Okay, good morning, students. So, till now in the class, we have discussed the basics, okay, the basic computer organization and the evolution of programming languages, why we need to code in high level language and why not in machine language. Okay, and we have seen the history of programming languages, how they have evolved right from the first program, that analog program that was written till today, 2014 until 2020, what actually programming languages has evolved and how they have evolved. Okay, so now we are going to move forward and see what are the things that we require to write a program. Okay, to write a program and how the program will be executed in the background. What are the things that we require? So we will see programming environments, IDEs, compilers, editors, debuggers, interpreters. What are all these things? We will see one by one. So first, let's start with programming environments. Okay, what is a programming environment? So see, if in one line I have to tell you that what is a programming environment, it is nothing but all those, just like the literal meaning of environment, right? What are the things around you that you require for your overall growth? In the same way, what are the things that you require for a program to write and run? Okay, for example, to write a program, you need an ID, a platform where you will write the code, right? Some platform. That platform can be a notepad also, a Word file also, but you need some platform to write the code. So that is a programming environment. You need hardwares in the background. You need resistors in the background. You need operating system in the background. We have seen in the first class, right, that originally the program will be stored in your secondary memory, the hard disk. From the hard disk, the program has to move to your main memory. And who moves this program? The operating system moves this program. Okay, so operating system is also your programming environment. So let's just see first why we actually need this programming environment. So earlier, when this system software, or you can say this programming environment was not there, what used to happen was people used to directly write in machine codes, right? So suppose you have written some machine code like this. Machine code means zeros and ones. You have written some codes in the binary format like zeros and ones, and this means according to you that you have to add two numbers, say a and b. You have to two numbers a and b. This is what you wanted to do, and there is no high level language, there is no programming environment, and you have written everything in the machine language. You have written everything in this form. But this is not it. You can't just write like this and assume that two numbers will be added in the background. If you are writing directly in the machine code, if you're directly interacting with the computer, you have to also tell the computer that how he will add these two numbers. You have to tell the computer that first you have to access a register, and you have to store the value of first integer in the register, say a. You have to first store this value in one register. Then you have to take another register, and you have to store the value of b in that register. Then you have to add these two registers, and then you have to store the result in third register. So every process, every step, you have to tell your computer if you're directly trying to code in this machine language. So that is a very clerical problem. That is a very clerical job. This is not what a programmer is concerned about. You being a programmer, when you become a programmer in future, you are not concerned how things are working in the background. You just want to add two numbers so that they should be added. That's it. That is my sole concern. That is my sole problem. You want to solve a problem. That's it. Right? So earlier, when this programming environment were not there, most of the productive time of the programmer were spent in doing all these things, that how actually the registers are interacting in the background, how the numbers will be added, and so on and so forth. He cannot just write add a and b and two numbers will be added. He has to explain everything, that how the operating system will come into play, how the operating system will move this program after converting into binary from the hard disk to the RAM. Everything you have to explain, every process you have to explain. So that is the main issue why we need programming environments. That's it. That is it. Okay, so in some books you will find that programming environment sometimes are refers to as language specific editors and debugging facilities. What are editors and debuggers? We will see today only. But editors, you can assume they are the programs where you write your code. For example, some of you might have used Eclipse to write Java code, right? Some of you might have used Turbo C++ to write C++ code or C code. Some of you might have used Dev C. Some of you might have used Code Block. So these are IDEs. Okay, what are IDEs? I will tell you today only. But editors or IDEs, they are the place where you write your program. the interface where you are going to write exactly your program. And debugging, as the name suggests, debugging means identifying the errors in your program. So in some books you will find that they say only if you can write the programs on editors and you can debug them, find the errors, they are nothing but the programming environment. But in real life, all the hardware, all the resistors, all the flip-flops, all the gates, and gates, not gate, all the hardware that you require, all the software that you require, your operating system, your editors, your debuggers, they are also software, they are also piece of code only. Your Microsoft Word, Microsoft PowerPoint, they are just a piece of code, right? All the software you need, all the hardware you need, everything is going to be a programming environment. Fine. It is just like it is providing you a proper environment. Suppose you want to go to study, then what are the things that you require for studying? You need books, you need pen, you need paper, you need table, you need chair, you need laptop. All these are programming environment for you. Okay. So suppose you want to create a very simple programming environment. You don't want to create complex programming environments. So what a very simple programming environment should contain for you? First, it should contain a text editor. Text editor means where you will write your program, these editors. We will see today in detail what are editors. So editors means where you are going to write your program. So first you should write your program. So you need editors. Then suppose you have written your program in assembly language. We have seen in the class, right, that you have high level language like C, C++, Java, Python, etc. Then you have machine language, zeros and ones. In between there is something known as assembly language. Assembly language are not as easy or comfortable as high level language, and they are not as tough as machine language also. They are somewhere in between. You have seen the add R1, R2. These are registers. Then do this, that move, etc. We have seen a very short example of this, right, in the class earlier. So suppose you don't have high level language, you run directly into assembly language. So first you need an editor where you can write this program. Then you need an assembler. If you want to convert assembly language into machine language, we need assemblers. If we want to convert high level language into machine language, we need compilers. These compilers, interpreters, assemblers, we will see in our later classes. But right now, just get this point that if you have written a program in assembly language, then because finally the program has to be converted in this machine language. Our final task is the program should be converted in this machine language. इसमें convert होना चाहिए finally at the last. And you have two options. Either you can write in high level language directly in C, C++, Java, or you can write in assembly language if you don't have high level language. If you have written the program in assembly language, then you need an assembler to convert it into machine language. If you have written the program in high level language, you need a compiler to convert it into machine language. So suppose you are making a very simple programming environment. So what are the basic things that you require? You require a text editor first to write the program. And suppose you have written your program in assembly language, so you need an assembler to convert that assembly language program into machine language. And you need very simple operating system also. Why you need operating system? Because you have seen if you don't have the operating system, the final program will be stored in your hard disk. And we have seen that program has to move from hard disk to RAM when you want to process it, when you want to run it. So if you don't have, and I've told you earlier that this operation, moving the program from hard disk to RAM, is performed by the operating system, your Windows, Linux, etc. So you need a very simple operating system also. So these three things at least can make my very simple programming environments. But this is now how we code in 2020. Okay, we make some complex programming environments. For example, what are the advancements that you can do to this simple programming environment? Suppose this is my simpler programming environment. So what modifications can I do to make it a very complex or a kind of programming environment that we need in 2020? So the first thing that we have to do, you use high level language instead of assembly language, because this is easier. This provides you a lot more features. Okay, to connect, to write the programs, you can write complex programs. This is easier. This provides you more functionalities, etc., etc. So first, instead of assembly language program, you use high level language. And if you are using high level language, then obviously you need a compiler. Then you need some library functions also. See, okay, so you need high level language. If you have used a high level language, you need compilers. Then you can need library of predefined procedures and functions. What does this mean? Suppose you want to perform square root of a number. Suppose you want to perform square root of 25. But you don't want to write every line of code for this. You don't want to write exactly how this is going to work. You want that some function should be there, say sqrt, some square root function should be there, in which if I write 25, the final answer will be calculated. How it is calculated, I am not worried about. But if I can use something known as SQRT, square root, and I provide 25 inside that, I should be able to get my answer. So these are known as predefined procedures and functions. And if you need these functions, you need a programming environment that must be capable of providing you these functions. In normal machine language, if you're directly writing in machine language, you cannot have these functionalities. You have to define everything. You don't have these this kind of power at your hands, right? Some additional features you can also provide. For example, Windows managers and file access methods. All these things which I have highlighted are some advancements in your programming environment. And this is how in 2020 the programming environment is made. In 2020, whenever you heard a word IDE, this is meant as integrated development environment. This is nothing but your programming environment only. For example, code blocks, DevCC, okay, Eclipse, Anaconda. Anaconda is for Python. These are programming environments. Everything is provided at one place only. All these high level language you can code, predefined procedures you have, Windows managers, okay, file access methods, everything is provided you at one place. You can write the code in IDs, you can compile the code in IDs, you can visually see or represent your code. For example, Anaconda is used for Python language. You will see these things later. So everything is IDE, integrated development environment. This is nothing but a programming environment only. Okay, so anything that can help. For example, today suppose you want to write an email. So email is not a single program, right? In email, suppose there is a program email. You want to write an email, okay, and in the email you want to attach a PPT, a PowerPoint presentation. So these two are two different programs. Email has been written from a different piece of code. PowerPoint has been written from a different piece of code. And now you want to interact these two programs. So this kind of functionality should also be provided. This is known as elaborate file access methods. That one program should be able to access other program also. These kind of complex functionalities should be provided in 2020's integrated development environments. Okay, some library management facilities, source level debugging facilities means, see, if you have written a program in suppose C, if you have written a C program, and I am saying that you have written this program on a IDE or integrated development environment or programming environment, anything you can call it as. Suppose you have written a C program on code blocks. Okay, now you know that finally this program has to be converted into machine language. And who converts this program? Compiler converts this program into machine language. If this C program would have been, if instead of this C program we were writing the program in assembly language, then instead of this, compiler have used assembler to convert it into machine language, right? So suppose now I'm writing the program in high level language, that is C or C++ language, in the code blocks IDE. This is my IDE, code blocks. Code blocks is the programming environment. So what are the things that code block should provide me? First and the foremost thing is it should be user friendly while writing the code. Second, it should provide me the debugging, means finding the errors in your program. Simple as that. We will see debuggers today itself. But for now, debugging means finding the errors in your program. So if you're writing the program in code blocks only should provide you this functionality that please debug me. You will not do कि लिख किसी और सॉफ्टवेयर में रहे हो, उसका एरर यू आर ट्राइंग टू फाइंड आउट इन अनदर सॉफ्टवेयर, यू आर रनिंग दैट प्रोग्राम इनटू थर्ड सॉफ्टवेयर. ऐसा तो नहीं करते ना. एवरीथिंग वी राइट एट वन प्लेस, we compile it, we run it, everything is done at one place. So that is nothing but your IDE or programming environment. All the facilities are provided to you at only one place. Source level debugging means that before you this compiler convert this into machine language, और convert करने के बाद कोई error आए उससे बेहतर है source level. This is my source, original C program, this is my target final machine language. So before converting it into machine language and then trying to find out whether there is some error or not, your IDE or your programming environment should be able to give you error here itself, convert करने से पहले ही. और ऐसा ही होता है, when you compile the program, it is not directly converted into machine language. I've asked you in the first class now that what is the role of a compiler. Some of the students said that it is used to find the errors. No, this is not the role. The final role of the compiler is to convert this high level language program into machine language. But before it converts it into machine language, it performs one more task that is known as debugging. It finds the error. That is an optional task that is known as source level debugging. Before converting the program into machine language, it finds your errors and you correct your error. After that only it is converted into machine language. We will see debuggers today. Okay, now what are the things or what are the components of a programming environment? Generally a programming environment contains two components. Okay, one is the program preparation part, means first just prepare before writing your program how everything is going to be organized, and then the program execution component, means after you have written the program then what will happen. So both of these two functionalities should be provided by your programming environment. Your programming environment should be able to provide you both of these functionalities. Okay, for example, see this directly. This is my program preparation component. So what are the things that you need to prepare for your program? You need editors where you will write your programs. You need compilers that will convert your program to machine language, or if you have written the program in assembly language, you need assemblers. You need linkers, loaders. These things we will see in later classes, linkers and loaders. Okay, these are the things, these are the softwares you need to prepare your program. Okay, so on a bare machine, okay, means the machine which are not very complicated, program preparation part includes editors, compilers, assemblers, linkers, loaders, all these things. We will see everything one by one slowly. So these are for program preparation. Now what is program execution part? You have written the program, you have compiled the program into machine language, everything is done. Now you run the program. Now the actual running happens. Now actual registers are allotted to every number. Registers start happening inside the system. Now this is at the hardware level. Okay, so at the hardware level, this program execution requires, what are the things that it requires? It requires some operating system to move your program from secondary memory to primary memory and vice versa. You need some predefined procedures. You need some square root function that should be predefined in your system, and you should be able to use them. Okay, now this program execution part also contains two types. One is if suppose you have run a single program, and if suppose you have run a multiple process. So what does this mean by the single process, multi-process? Don't get too bogged down by this. This is not very important right now. But suppose you have one, say apple. You have one apple. You have one program P1 that wants this apple. Only this P1 program wants this apple, no one else. So this is known as single process. Only single process is running on your computer. So for single process, you will need command languages, you need input output, you need file systems. Okay, you need Windows managers, you need storage allocation to allot storage, because you have seen from hard disk program moves to RAM, from RAM it moves to cache, from cache it moves up and up and up, right? So when the program is moving, when suppose from your hard disk the program is moving to your RAM, then you have to check before that RAM is space, if there is some space in the RAM or not. You have to allot some space to the RAM. Okay, so there has to be storage allocation, there has to be virtual memory. If there is no space, then try to create one virtual memory. These things you will see in your later classes. Don't get just keep this is looking very tough. This is not very tough. These things you will study in your future classes. For now I have given you this table to get an overall idea. Okay, even if you just keep these two things in mind, that a program preparation part contains text editors, compilers, assemblers, linkers, loaders, and program execution actually concerned with the hardware part. This is like the software, this is like the hardware. Okay, where the operating system will move data between two hardwares, your hard disk and RAM. You will have predefined libraries where some linking and loading will take place. We will see them later. This is fine, this is fine. If you don't you actually don't have to understand all these terms written here, just for your understanding. It's fine. So this is single process. If there is a single process, he needs these things. But suppose for that same apple, you have two programs now, P1 and P2. Both of these programs want this apple at the same time. Then how you will distribute this apple between these two processes? That is known as multi-processing, multi-threading. All these are operating system concepts you will see in your later classes. But this is what is known as multi-processing, multi-threading, and all those stuff. So you need process scheduling. That schedule one process at a time. थोड़ी देर के लिए you give this apple to P1. After some time, you give this apple to P2. There should be inter-process communication. These processes should talk. किसके लिए ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है? There should be resource sharing. Okay, आधा एप्पल P1 को दे दो, आधा एप्पल P2 को दे दो. So these kind of things are there in multiple processes. So these things will take place during program execution. Okay, So these are your components of your programming environment. You have program preparation components, which are simple, where you will write your program, how you will compile assemblers, linkers, loaders, that's it. Then you have program execution part, in which if you are using single process, then you need these functionalities. But if you are using multiple processes needs to use this same apple, so you need some different kind of functionalities. So everything combined together is your programming environment. Every support is provided in your IDEs, or integrated development environment. Okay, I've given you this historical note that how this programming environment has evolved. This is not important, okay, for our subject, but I've given you, so just read it once. Okay, this is not complicated, this is not necessary. Also, this is right from the original computers. When computers were made originally, okay, they were very expensive, so people were not very keen ki we provide you programming environment beforehand. They said that okay, you write code somewhere else, then you compile the code somewhere else on your own, then you run, you allocate resources, you allocate registers on your own to run the program. Everything you do on your own, we are not concerned, we will not provide you any programming environment. But later they realized that this is a manual task, this is just manual task, and if someone can work a bit harder and create one programming environment initially only, then these things will be faster in future. It's like, suppose you want to cut a tree, okay, then directly just start cutting the tree. You first sharpen your axe, you first make a programming environment so good that everything can be done at this place. If this programming environment is very strong, your editors, your debuggers, your linkers, compilers, loaders, okay, your hardware resources, how the program will be executed, everything if you have defined in your programming environment only, then the final thing that you have to do is just to write the piece of code, and everything will be taken care by this programming environment. You don't have to worry what is happening in the background, how it is happening. Okay, so just read this historical note once. This is not very important. I've given right from the starting, like when the original computers were, they were expensive, then people realized that you have to sharpen your axe. Then new programming languages came, we have seen in the last class, okay, Fortran came, then Algol, COBOL, Lisp. With these languages, people realized that we need some platform where you can write this program, where you can run this program, everything at one place. Okay, the new programming languages research started, operating system began to develop. Okay, then microcomputer, mini computer revolutions were there, so a lot of things were there. This is just a history kind of a thing. With Digital Equipment Corporation, actually this threatened to monopolize the market, that okay, whatever I am making, that is final, we don't need your product. But then different versions of Unix operating system came, okay, they provided their own IDs, people got attracted to it, and etc etc. Okay, so this is not very important, this history part. So in a summary, if in a summary I ask you what is this programming environment, everything which can affect either the development or testing of your application, or everything that you require to write your program and how your program will be executed, is your programming environment. The editors, the IDEs is equivalent to programming environment only, integrated development. But today, for now, 2020, IDEs are nothing but programming environment only. IDEs is a software which basically provides that you can write code here, you can manipulate your code here, you can visualize your code here also graphically if you want, you can debug, you can find errors in your code here also, you can finally run your program here also. You don't have to go anywhere else. Everything is provided in this single functionality. Okay, here, so everything, all these things, editors, compilers, interpreters, operating system, environment variables, some extra libraries if you need for square root example, okay, everything, RAM, how much this space is available in your RAM, hard disk, everything, jitna ye manual work in the background has to be done, will be done by this IDs only. So this is the power of integrated development environments. Okay, so we have seen, right, this integrated development environment contains a lot of things, like editors, debuggers, assemblers, linkers, coders, all these things. So we will see one by one each of them. Okay, first let's start with text editors. What are basically these text editors? Wait a second. Yeah, see what is this text editors and debuggers. Okay, simple, in very simple line, text editor is a piece of software where you can write your program. So even your notepad on your computer is a text editor. Text editor, you can edit text, that's it. Notepad, wordpad, these are your text editors. okay, used on your Windows operating system. Then you have other text editors like VI, Emacs, Z, Pico. They are used in Unix operating system. They look like command line instructions. These are your text editors where you can write your program, you can run your program on Unix operating system, right? This is only text editor, nothing else, where you can just write your source code, where you can write your program, you can modify your program, you can move your cursor on the program, you can copy something, you can delete something, you can paste something, anything that you can do with the text. That is a text editor. For example, Notepad and WordPad on your Windows system. Okay, so let's see the type of text editors one by one. So first is the kind of line editors. This means you can edit one line at a time. These kind of editors means you can edit one line at a time. You cannot edit the whole program at once. For example, Teleprinter, Edlin, Techo. We generally don't use these nowadays, but these are the kind of, suppose this is my whole program I have written. I cannot see this whole program at once. I cannot edit this whole program at once. I can see one line, you edit this line and move forward. You see other line, you edit this, move forward. This is how you can use line editors. Then you have stream editors, where you can edit the whole paragraph, where you don't have to edit line by line. You can edit whole paragraphs at once. For example, sed editor in Unix. Then you have screen editors. Screen editors is something that people use a lot. VI and Emacs are very popular. Screen editors is something in which you will see your program, your whole screen of the program. You can copy some piece of code, you can paste it there. For example, Notepad, simply just how you write your text in a notepad. You can write everything in the notepad. You can copy something from the top, you can paste it at the bottom. You can cut something from the bottom, you can paste it at the top of the bottom. This provides you extra flexibility. That is screen editors. Okay, in line editors and stream editors, you don't see this cursor. You don't see, suppose this cursor, you don't see this cursor moving. So if you don't see this cursor moving, you cannot jump manually from one point to another and do something, cut, copy, paste. You have to go either line by line or you have to go paragraph. Okay, but this screen editors, this VI is a very popular very popular editor used in Unix systems. Okay, then other kind is word processor, nothing, simple word file, okay, where you can write in natural language or English language, which supports images. You can add images in word file, you can add some videos in word file, you can change the font, you can change the style. So these are nothing but word processor kind of editors. So just get the sense, editors are nothing but a place where you can write your program. So these are all the places, these are all the editors where you can write your program depending on what you need. Exactly. Suppose you want to write a program that uses some images and video files. So obviously you cannot write in VI and Emacs. You have to use these word processor, word files. Then you have structure editor, okay, which focuses on the structure of programming language. So the programming languages which are very, possessive about their structures, that my structure should not get damaged. For example, NetBeans to code in Java, gedit. These are structure editors which have predefined structure for a programming language. For example, if someone has used NetBeans, they already give you the syntax that, okay, this is my syntax for the Java program. You write your code in between. I've already given you the structure predefined. You don't have to write everything right from the starting. You directly write whatever your program is. I've given you the structure. I've given you the syntax. Okay. Then you have full screen editors. Full screen editors is nothing but just another way of saying this screen editors. But what happens in full screen editors is everything in your computer screen is blocked. You cannot see other applications of your screen. It is used to focus while writing code, that you should not see Google Chrome icon, you should not see file system icon, you should not see your games installed on your desktop. Your whole computer screen will be covered by the editor. You can only write your code. For example, Acme, CodeRoom, Focuswriter, these are those editors. Okay, then you have Windows multiple editor. We'll suppose you want to use multiple editors simultaneously on a system and you want to transfer something from one editor to another, kind of multi-process, multi-threading. So this functionality is also provided, where we have one buffer where we store what the text we wanted to edit. And then you have Windows, another thing. This is not normal Windows. This is the bin file Windows. Don't worry what is this. Okay, this is not important. Multiple Windows editor is not important. Just get till this point at least. Full screen editors. Okay, multiple windows editors basically provides this functionality that if you have two editors working simultaneously, interacting with each other, some data from this editor is moving here, some data from this editor moving here, you can use this multiple windows editor, where you have a buffer where you store the data that can move, and then you have the windows where you edit that editing part. Okay, a buffer can have multiple windows also. Whatever you will edit in one window, that will be reflected in the another window, kind of thing. Okay, then you have DOS editors, MS-DOS, the Windows MS-DOS editor was provided. Okay, uski the power it has was that it can edit around 66 lines and 257 lines at once. It can edit a file worth of 5 MB size at once. It was having some color themes. It can open 9 files at a time. Okay, all the files directly in the binary mode without compiling them. These were some of the functionalities provided by this DOS editor. Then you have this VI editor. This is a very popular editor which we use on Unix operating system. Okay, there is no menus, like there is no file option, there is no edit option in a VI editor. If you use some other editor like CodeBlocks, you will see some option there. There is file, there is edit, there is debug, there is compile, there is run. The options are already written there. But in VI editor, this is like command prompt. The screen will be like command prompt. You have to use keystrokes combination. You have to write different commands to run a program. Okay, for example, GCC edit. You will write something like this. In your lab, you will do, I think, on this VI editor, you will write program on this. Okay, then you have online editors also. Suppose you don't have any software in your system, then you can simply write online C compiler or C editor. You will get some free softwares where you can write the program in the online mode. Okay, so this was regarding the editors. So editors are nothing but a piece of software where you basically write your code. Some software doesn't provide anything like Notepad. You have to write everything on command prompt where you have to give keystrokes like VI editors. Or some of the editors are like IDEs, integrated development environments. Means everything will be there at once. For example, CodeBlocks. Okay, now let's see what is this bug and debugging. So see, first let's see what is this, what I mean by this bug. So bug means error. You have some error in your program and you want to identify them. I have asked you in the initial class that what is the role of the compiler, right? So suppose this is your C level C program. This is your C program. And you have compiled this C program. So the work of the compiler is to convert this C program into machine language. This is the only work of the compiler. In today's time, in 2020, this compilation process doesn't only include this conversion into machine language. It includes two things. This compiler in 2020 compiler includes two things. First, you find or you do debugging. Debugging means finding the errors in your program. You find debugging. Second, then you convert it into machine language. Only after removing all the errors. This is like this. Suppose you want to go for a ride using your bike. So you try to start your bike, but the bike was not getting started. There is some problem, but you don't know where the problem is exactly. So then you start doing debugging. First you check whether there is petrol or not. That is one step. Okay, petrol is there. Then you move forward. Okay, you check whether the ignition engine is on or not. Then you move to other parts of the bike. So this is how you do the debugging. You try to see everything, that whether they are working as they were defined earlier or not. Because when a program or a code doesn't behave the way you expect it to behave, then you mean that there is some bug in my program. We will see one example. Suppose this is a Python program. Don't worry about the syntax or how I have written it. We are not concerned with that right now. But this is a Python program which is adding two numbers. Here the first number is entered. Here the second number is entered. For example, suppose the first number is entered as 2. The second number is entered at 3. The final answer should be 5. This is a Python program written in PyCharm IDE. There is a IDE, integrated development environment, known as PyCharm, where you can write this. So if I ask you in one line, what is this IDE? IDE is a combination of three things. First, this will provide you editors like this. This will provide you this editor where you can write your program. This provides you debugger also, or compiler also, you can say. This provides you compiler also, means you can write your code here also and you can debug here also. आपको किसी और सॉफ्टवेयर पे आप जाने की जरूरत नहीं, एक ही जगह आप you can do everything. And this provides some modifications also, like this edit, view, navigate, code, refactor. These are some external modifications. Okay, so this is a Python code which I have written that should add two numbers. Now, suppose a user runs, user enters the first, this is running, this is the user, this is the interface when the user run the program. So when the user runs the program, the first thing that is asked is please enter the first number. So the user enters 2. Then it is asked please enter second number. User enters 3. So what should be the answer? The answer should be 5. But here the answer is coming as 23. Now this is a bug. I wanted that this program should add two numbers. If I give input as 2 and I give input as 3, the final answer should be 5. But the final answer is coming here as 23. So this is an error. I need to modify this error. So first I need to debug. I need to debug. I need to debug. Means make the program bug free now. So different IDEs provide you different ways to debug the code. Okay, for example, this PyCharm provides you this option of debugging, but everything remains same in all the IDs. What happens is there is one breakpoint. This is known as a breakpoint. You can put a different kind of breakpoints in your program. Breakpoints means this is a flag I have set here. I have told the debugger that this is the point where I have a doubt. This add two numbers. This function is not working properly. It's added 2 plus 3 as 5, but this is giving me the answer as 23. This is the point where I have a doubt. So I will put breakpoint here at this line, and I will say please start debugging this. So there are a lot of other options also. For example, this is known as shift into. This is known as shift over. Okay, all these things are you will see in your lab basically. But what this means is if I'm standing at this point and I say shift over will mean that okay, move to the another line. The debugger will come here. Shift over, the debugger will come here. Shift into means you go inside this function and check everything. Okay, so these kind of things are there in debugging. But what will happen exactly if you see this breakpoint is here in front of this first line, and this says the answer of this debugger, or the when the debugger started to apply the things, it's see here, it will return something like this, that A is not 2, A is 2 in inverted comma, 2 in this columns. Okay, B is also a kind of string. So basically what is happening here is debugger is saying you that if you are adding 2 and 3, you are getting 23. Why you are getting 23? Because this 2 is not an integer. This 3 is not an integer. This is acting like a string in my program. This 2 is not an integer according to this program. 2 is a string. String means a set of characters. Character is A, B, C, D, E, F, right? So string means a set of character like A, B, C. So this 2 is not getting understand by this IDE like an integer. This IDE PyCharm is getting confused and thinking that this 2 is not any integer. This is a string. This is a string. And if you want to add two strings, so B is also a string. If you want to add two strings, it will not say the result is 5. It will say 2, 3. Just like if you have a string suppose A and string suppose B, and I want to add A plus B, so the answer will be AB. Suppose I want to add C also, the answer will be ABC. Strings are getting added. So in the same way, this debugger, after debugging, told me that this A is a string, this B is a string. That is why the answer is coming as a string here. So this is how the debugger has told me the exact error, where the error is coming. Okay, so this is a Python program. You will not understand what solution we have to do here right now, but we have to convert this input. ये input है हमारा first number. This is my second number input. So I will write before input as int. This is known as typecasting. Okay, so I think there was some audio issues, right? So I will explain from this point again because I think there was some audio issue. Okay, so debug or debugging simply means that you have to debug your program. So in this program, when this is a breakpoint, this is a breakpoint. This point means that you start debugging from here and you see what is the error, what is causing this program to work haphazardly. it is not working as it was supposed to work. If I have given the input as 2 and I have given the input as 3, the final answer should have been 5, but the answer is coming as 23. Why? So the debugger told that the variable that you have entered, the first number a and the second number b, they are not integers, they are input as string, they are input as string. That is the problem that is happening. Because suppose you have a string like abc and you have another string like Rahul, and you want to add two strings abc and Rahul. So what will happen? The answer will be abc Rahul. This is the addition of a string. So the compiler, not compiler, basically the editor, the IDE, it is getting confused. This PyCharm IDE on which I have written this program, it is getting confused that this 2 and 3 are not integers, they are strings. So that is why their answer is coming as 23. It has told, debugger has told this. So what is the solution for this? You will not understand right now, but we do something known as typecasting. Okay, you will see this in your later classes, in your later subjects actually. So what we do, this input was my first input 2, this was my second input 3. So the ID, this ID PyCharm is thinking that this 2 is a string and this 3 is also a string. So what he will do, or we have to do, is we have to typecast it. We will write some int before this. So it will convert everything what is written inside into integer. We will write integer before this. So it will convert 3 as integer also, and final answer will be fine. We need. Okay. So this is the basic regarding debuggers. And these are some of the commonly used debuggers that we use, right? Depending on the programming language. If you are trying to write every IDE, whenever I say IDE, you should get in your mind a picture that IDE means a platform where there are editors also, there are some modifications also, and there are debuggers also. There are compilers also. Everything is at one place. This is my programming environment, IDE. For example, here I've written this code. This is in PyCharm IDE. There are another IDEs also like Anaconda, code blocks. This PyCharm and Anaconda are for Python. You have code blocks. You have DevC. Lot of IDEs are there, right? So these are some of the popular IDEs that people use. Eclipse, for example, for Java, ARM DTT for C++. All these things are there. Just go through the name ones. Not every detail you have to see right now. Okay. So this lecture is till this point only. Just go through this. If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Okay, in the class itself, no issues. Okay, watch the recording again, take your notes. And in the class next time, we will start with compilers. That how exactly now this program which we are saying from the first class, that you have written a high level program that is converted into machines language program by the compiler. How this happens exactly. We will see these things in our next class. So thank you. And if there are some audio problems with this video, don't worry. Okay, just watch the full video. I think because of some net issues, there can be some audio lags. So if it's something of that kind, don't worry, just watch the videos, read the PPTs once, and that problem I will solve in the class. Okay, if the video has stuck somewhere. Chalo, thank you. We will meet on Monday.